So welcome, Mr. Lustig. It was so great having you for this masterclass 2 days ago.
It was my pleasure.
And so many things were said, and so many other things were not. So I have questions to go on. We saw this sequence from Maniac Cop 2, and I know you really love the movie. I know it's a very dear movie to you.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you even told me that if we wanted to understand your connection with New York, Maniac Cop 2 says a lot. So what can you tell me about this?
Well, the reason Maniac Cop 2 is a personal favorite of mine is it was a challenge to make a sequel, and I wanted to make a sequel that was as good or better than the first movie. So a lot of hard work went into trying to make Maniac Cop 2 a bigger, more exciting movie than the first movie. Because in the first movie, we already told the story of the character. So now it becomes, what does the character do? And so with Larry Cohen's script, we were able to come up with ideas to really make it a big action, supernatural movie.
And it really worked. And I also wanted to ask you about Joe Spinell, if it's okay. Something that we didn't really talk about at the masterclass is that Joe Spinell came up with the idea of Maniac, I think.
Well, actually, Joe didn't come up with the idea for Maniac. He came up with he came up with the elements of his character. He basically wrote his character, which was a compilation of serial killers from the 70s. The 70s was what I call in America the golden age of serial killers. We had Ted Bundy, we had Henry Lee Lucas. There was a lot of interesting, colorful serial killers that for some reason all emerged in the 70s. Today in America, we don't have interesting serial killers anymore. They're kind of boring. It's usually, the one who's committing the murders is some guy who lives in a trailer next door, kind of nothing colorful or interesting about him. But in the 70s, these people were very colorful.
And you were there during the Summer of Sam.
Oh, I was. In fact, at the time, I kind of looked a little bit like him.
Really?
Yeah, I had a couple of people look at a newspaper, look at me and go, so some of it was based on a little bit of Son of Sam. And that's what Joe did. He really just took elements from each of these serial killers and combined it into this character.
Okay, so on the one side you wrote the plots, and he wrote his own character.
Exactly.
Okay, and you think that was a good combination to work with an actor?
Well, it was obviously successful.
Obviously, so.
And it was a pleasure. I mean, Joe Spinell was a wonderful, creative collaborator. Keep in mind he was an accomplished character actor, and my only accomplishment up till then was directing a couple of adult movies. Yeah. So he had a great deal of belief in me because Maniac was truly my first mainstream movie, and he really believed in me and supported me throughout it.
And he died quite young.
He did.
And as you said, he was a great character actor. If he had survived, what kind of actor would he have become with time, with age?
It's funny, we talk about that, or we sometimes talk about it, because he had such an amazing body of work. The different characters he played was amazing to me. He really had a lot of versatility as an actor, and I think he would have gone on to have a wonderful character actor career. He just was his own worst enemy, drinking and drugs.
Yes, and just as you, he was like everywhere in these New York movies in the 70s and in the early 80s, you know, like, and when we speak together, I feel like you met everyone back then. You told me you knew Sonny Grosso.
Oh yes,
the cop from.
I still see him. I saw him just within the last 6 months. I saw him.
Really? So the cop from French Connection, and also the guy who inspired Al Pacino's
Randy
character.
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
I
Cruising.
saw him also in April.
Okay.
Just a few months ago.
That's incredible, and you even very often have anecdotes about movies you didn't work on, like Cruising, like Death Wish. But you worked on Death Wish.
What I worked on in Death Wish was I was not on the set. I visited the set, but I wasn't working on the set. What I did was I synchronized the picture and the sound when it came from the lab to give to the editor. So I was the middleman between the lab and the editor. I'd prepare the film and the sound for the editor.
I told you, I think you're one of the maybe 3 or 4 best directors who ever filmed New York. Like this one, with Martin Scorsese or Abel Ferrara. You just really understood the city, to me, back then.
That's an incredible compliment, but I can't accept it because there's been so many great directors who have worked in New York City. Lumet, I could go on and on, with great directors who have worked in New York and have really inspired me.
But this very New York, the New York depicted in Maniac or in Taxi Driver or just till After Hours, we feel like it kind of disappeared. It's not the same city today. How do you feel about this?
New York has definitely changed. It's changed because it's become the city of the 1%. That's an expression in America for the uber wealthy. They really control the city now. What the city is missing today, from my standpoint, is its artistic soul. That artistic soul has moved maybe to Brooklyn a little bit and to some of the boroughs, but in New York City, Manhattan, that world has gone, and it's gone forever, I think. And that's sad, because so much great art, music, film came out of the downtown scene of New York, the Lower East Side, places like that, and that's all vanished.
Yeah, even young directors have the same opinion as you. James Gray just told the same, and he's a real New Yorker from, and
it's disappeared.
Yeah, totally. And even he moved to Los Angeles, but he still wants to do movies in New York.
Funny enough, Los Angeles is starting to become vibrant, especially downtown. Los Angeles is starting to emerge, but it will never be like what it was in New York. It was just something special about that period. We had the Fillmore East, you might have heard of. We had, you had the clubs like CBGB's, and you had all these wonderful places that are gone.
And the disappearance of these times, of this vibe, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that you stopped directing?
No. No.
It's just like you said the other day. You lost some kind of fearlessness.
Well, I did. I had worked on a movie. I developed a movie. It will go unnamed. But I was working for over a year on a project, and through no fault of my own, I was replaced, and it became a much bigger movie by the director who took over, and it was a very how can I say, it was depressing, and it was something where it made me, you have to be passionate, I think, to make a movie. I think that's the special. You have to be passionate. And when you can't be passionate for fear that it will be taken away from you, that's something that is hard to get over. So from that point, I didn't stop directing, but I stopped directing with my heart. I just became a job. It became a way to support myself. And then along came the home media explosion of DVD, and I was right at the beginning of it. And so I sort of put aside directing and focused on making a living, but in a different world, and a world that I controlled. I didn't have to worry about anybody replacing me.
Yeah, and that's quite depressing period when you worked on this movie that we won't name. When was it exactly?
It was 93, I think it was. Okay. 92 or 93.
And, well, it's been like 20 years ago. And, well, you're a storyteller. Sometimes you might come up with a great idea for a movie.
Well, I don't know about great ideas. I do come up with ideas for films.
Okay.
God, there was one project that I didn't get serious about, but I thought about a lot that's being made right now.
Okay.
Starring Jack Black. Interesting. It was an interesting character. But what happened is the home video business, grew and transformed to Blu-ray, and it's become a full-time job. I have responsibility. I have employees. I have, and it's not something I could just say, okay, I'm going to go direct a movie.
Yeah.
I think maybe at this point I could, but for many years I couldn't.
Okay. So you were attached to something else?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that's something else, like Blue Underground. Your company. It's great because you still release exploitation movies and you do a great work to keep this alive. So all these great films are not forgotten.
Well, what was fun about the beginning of the home media explosion was I was acquiring movies that had not been properly presented to the public. I took Dario Argento films, Lucio Fulci films, and I treated them the same way that a company like Criterion Collection treats Fellini, Truffaut. I treated these films with respect and gave them the dignity in the marketplace for people to appreciate them.
Exactly. And I guess you also have goals with Blue Underground. Do you have some grail, some movie you would like to, some real dream you want to release and never get the chance to?
There's so many, and for various reasons I probably would not be able to release them, whether it's legal or materials or, this, when you're dealing with older movies, it's a lot like used cars. Some you could fix, some you can't. And but I just signed a contract on for 2 films that I've been trying to get the rights for since I began the company.
Okay.
I began the company in 2001, and these 2 movies, The Lift and Amsterdam, 2 Dick Maas movies that had disappeared because of the company going bankrupt. I finally was able to untangle and literally signed the contract before I got on the plane to come to France.
Yeah, there's a DVD for The Lift in France. That's not so good for such a great movie.
I know. I mean, because they've been using the old master.
Yeah.
This will be a brand new. We already did a 2K. We're doing a 2K scan of both movies, and they'll be presented properly.
That's great. That's an awesome work. And well, when it will come to an end of your career, it's not now, of course, but well, sometimes in the future.
Well, I mean, I'm still working. I was involved with the remake of Maniac.
Yeah.
And now the remake of Maniac Cop. So I'm active, in all areas. It's not, I have no plans for retirement.
Of course, but one time, what do you think will be your greatest achievements? All this work for exploitation movies or your work as a director?
I think my greatest achievement is having not graduated high school, to have been able to live a life that's been a dream of mine. Every day I have fun. I've been working and I've been supporting myself in the film business since my late teens. That's over 40 years. And I'm a happy guy. I get to travel, I get to make new friends, and I make a good living, and it's all afforded me from the film business. I haven't had to do another job besides this, and to me that's a great achievement. To be happy, to go to work happy.
Exactly.
I wake up Monday morning excited. I get anxious during the weekend when I can't work.
And well, even here, I can feel you impressed me the other night when you told me you wanted to introduce cruising.
Sure.
Because you had so many stories to tell. So you told them to me.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay.